What's up guys, welcome back to the channel, and yes, we are here at doing another tier list. This one is for a console that is very near and dear to my heart. Probably this and Super Nintendo were my two most played consoles growing up. Uh, we're obviously doing Nintendo 64. Obviously on the screen here, this isn't every Nintendo 64 game ever made. This is just a pre-made list, but from what I can see, all the games I played are on this, so we're going to stick with that. There's also a few that I haven't played, that's why I have added my own little section here. I've never played. It has replaced F category because I don't believe Nintendo 64 has any F category games. So E essentially means trash. So it'd be better if they were never played. We're just going to try to go in order. I know right away what games are going to be in S tier. Like, there's some absolutely iconic games here. First game up is 007 The World Is Not Enough. I'm going to put that in B. Now, a lot of these games I played like a good bit after they came out. Obviously GoldenEye is the more well-known game, but I played GoldenEye first, then The World Is Not Enough. The World Is Not Enough is a B. For me, it's still a good shooting game, first-person shooter, but everything GoldenEye did it was so ahead of the game. Like, without the success of GoldenEye, I don't think there's Call of Duties, or they definitely wouldn't do as well. But the World Is Not Enough just wasn't quite up to the standard of what came before, but it's still a very good game. 1080 snowboarding. It's a fun game. You could definitely play it if you're bored or something to do. It's to me, it just feels like every Tony Hawk skateboarding game or anything like that. It's just something that you're not really playing for a deep dive. You're just playing for a bit of fun, maybe a bit of multiplayer with your friends, but that really is it. Here we go with the S's. Banjo-Kazooie is my joint favourite game of all time. It is joint with Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy Kong's Quest. All three Donkey Kong Country games are up there for me as well, but it isn't. Banjo-Kazooie is an absolute S tier game. It is the first game I ever 100%ed. That isn't too difficult. You can still pick it up this day and it still holds up. There's still hope out there. There's going to be a third mainline game. We do not count Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts. If you're a true fan, we do not count it. So Banjo-Kazooie is absolutely unbelievable. Like, Banjo-Kazooie, Bottles, all the Jinjos, Gruntilda, just every character in it is just perfectly done. Mambo, you could go on and on. While we're here, we're just going to put Banjo 2 up there as well. What Banjo 2 did as a sequel, it made it quite a good bit more difficult to 100% the game. Obviously, you can still complete the game without 100% on it, but having to finish a world with 7 jiggies and do 3 more worlds and then come back with new skills you learnt 3 worlds ahead, or do something in the 9th world that affects how to get a jiggy in the 4th world. It's nuts, but it is completely perfect. In my opinion, they're both perfect games in slightly different ways, and they'll forever be at the top of my list for my favourite games of all time, quite easily. California, USA, I don't think I played it, so no point wasting time there. Diddy Kong Racing, S tier. See, the debate about, I think at the time it came out, the debate was Diddy Kong Racing versus Crash Team Racing versus Mario Kart. Obviously, a lot of people just go Mario Kart off the cuff right away. It's Diddy Kong Racing for me. The actual story, the first player story, it's unbelievable. It's the bosses are really, really difficult. It's I've went back and tried to play this on the emulators about a year ago, and I just couldn't believe how difficult it was. I had to use save states and all just to beat some of these guys. It's infuriating, but it's in the best possible way. And then getting to collect the secret keys to do the battle games. Everything about Diddy Kong Racing is perfect, and if there's one game that deserves either a sequel or even just a remaster, that is it. I would have said Banjo-Kazooie deserves the remaster more, but now that there's the possibility we get a third game in the series, that we can leave that as is. Donkey Kong Country 64. It's a tough one here because I'm just finished saying that the Donkey Kong Country games for the Super Nintendo are a lot amongst my favourites as well. I'm going to give Donkey Kong Country an A. I played this after I played Banjo-Kazooie, so I had it in my head that any game like that, like a platformer, You could get 100% and all, but Donkey Kong 64 was so difficult. It was unreal how difficult it was to 100%. But obviously, it's absolutely iconic. Some like just completely ran out the boxing and all, and it's like it was ahead of its time, to be honest, in terms of a completionist game. I never completed it 100%. Out of the Nintendo 64 games, Banjo-Kazooie and Tooie, Diddy Kong Racing, and where is it? Super Mario 64 is only Nintendo 64 games I 100%ed. So, Donkey Kong 64 is a brilliant game, but it's A tier for me, not quite S tier. Doom 64 D. Coming off the Super Nintendo Dooms, like there's so much pressure on it, and going into the 3D graphics and all, like it should have been so much better, but it just isn't good enough, and I won't even spend that much time talking about it. Excite Bike, never played. F-Zero X, it's in my personal opinion, I prefer the Super Nintendo game as well for F-Zero. It just seemed a bit more chaotic on the Super Nintendo. F-Zero like tried to be a little bit too big for its britches, but it's still a very fun racing game. Absolutely no doubt. Like in terms of racing games, it's not even close to Diddy Kong or Mario Kart, but you know, it's definitely a good game for sure. 007 GoldenEye, it's S tier, as I've already said earlier. Without 007 GoldenEye, like so many first-person shooters just don't exist. Like it would be a completely different landscape today if this hadn't have succeeded. Say playing with your friends and like the first person to get the golden gun and all, and like just one shot, one kill, and then using the cheats on the first single player mode, like it was just some of the most fun you'll ever have in a multiplayer setting. It was absolutely fantastic. GoldenEye is probably up there with maybe Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, my favourite first person shooter, so it deserves its place in the S tier. Harvest Moon, I have never played. I've never actually played Let's Go Pikachu. Yeah, Let's Go Pikachu, I've never played it. I've never played Gemini. Kirby, well, everyone's played Kirby. As I'm sure, I absolutely love Kirby. Kirby's easily my favourite character in Super Smash Bros. As well. I just completely spam the brick move. While we're talking about it, I'll put Smash up here. So Smash is an S tier game. Super Smash Bros. Will always be like a brilliant game to pull out, like especially now on the Switch now, it's absolutely incredible roster. Like when it came out for Nintendo 64, it was completely new, like no one had ever seen anything like that. It was like just a smash 'em up game with like random characters that you'd never see interact. It was like the biggest crossover you'd ever seen at the time, so it absolutely deserves to be an S tier for sure. Mario Golf, I didn't like it for the 64. I enjoyed it on future consoles, but for the 64, the graphics were a little bit too blocky. Like the gameplay wasn't the best. It just wasn't my cup of tea. Like I understand why people do enjoy it. Mario Kart 64, brilliant. In my opinion, it probably is my favourite Mario Kart game. It's very close between that and Mario Kart Wii. But Mario Kart 64 is an absolutely incredible game. It really is. Here we've got 3 Mario parties. We're going to lump all the Mario parties together. They're all in A for me. Sometimes Mario Party is like the ultimate example of it. It can be such a fun game, either like playing against the computer or with your friends. But see the whole thing at the end about as like, oh, and the person who's the luckiest gets a star. Like, so someone who has been losing for 20 turns straight could win just because the game feels sorry for them. I don't like that. It's like the ultimate example of a participation trophy. It's like, no, if you lost, you lost. Mario Tennis, hate it. Even more than Mario Golf. I couldn't get into it at all. Like anything Mario on the Nintendo 64, I gave a go, and I honestly did not like a lot of it. Whatever that game is, I've never played it. Pac-Man, I never played the Nintendo 64. I know it's just probably a collection of Pac-Man games. I love Pac-Man, but I never played on the Nintendo 64, so for the sake of it, we'll leave it there. Paper Mario. Paper Mario is an incredible game. If it wasn't for the likes of Super Mario 64, it could probably have been the best Mario game on the generation of console. It was completely different. It's like the style, the graphics. The graphics, I know it's obviously a more cartoony, papery graphics, but like that led in perfectly for the power of the system. I absolutely love Paper Mario. I think it's very good. It was leaned into the side platformer of the previous consoles, while also adding something new with the new 3D elements of it. So that it can sit in a Perfect Dark. I'm gonna put it B. A lot of people, when arguing about obviously the best first-person shooter, like they say it's between GoldenEye and Perfect Dark. For me, I'm very biased because I played the crap out of GoldenEye, but Perfect Dark is a very, very good game as well. It's better than The World Is Not Enough. This isn't in order, by the way. At the end, I'll maybe put the top row in order of my favourite, like 10 in S tier, but that will be it. I'm not going for every other one. Pilot Wings 64. I preferred Pilot Wings on the Super Nintendo personally. I thought it was just a very entertaining game. Like, it's very simple, very basic. You're just going through hoops and all, but like, there was just something about it. Like, it's just exhilarating. Like, playing on such bad graphics. If you played on those graphics now, you'd probably make your eyes hurt, to be honest, because you'd be trying to concentrate so much. But it is what it is. Pokemon Snap, for me, it's an S tier game. And see anybody who you would say to now who hasn't played this, or obviously the sequel for the Switch, if you told them, I was like, yeah, it's just about like throwing apples down for 3D Pokemon and taking pictures of them, they would laugh at you. It sounds so mental, but I absolutely adored it. Like, see, completing this game from start to finish, like just trying to get better and better photos of the Pokemon, I loved it. Like I'm probably a weirdo, but any Pokemon fan should love Pokemon Snap. It should be like a guilty pleasure game. And it's also frustrating. This Pokemon Snap for the longest time was the one game that the systems really struggled to emulate when you were trying to download games. So thankfully we've obviously got the port onto the Switch and all now. So Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2, they're both going S tier. The amount of time I spent trying to do the bit where you just like you pick a team of 6 and you go through all the gym leaders in the Elite Four, it took me so long in both games to get through all that, because I just didn't know what Pokemon team would sit the whole way through. I never picked a team with enough coverage. Like back then when you're younger, you just pick your favourites. You pick your starter Pokemon, like the fully evolved versions and all. Now you know who the really good Pokemon are. You could do much better. Star Fox 64, I didn't like it. I don't like Star Fox. I didn't even like it for the Super Nintendo or anything. It's just me. It's just not my game. It's not aimed at me. It's definitely not an E game. It's not down there with Mario Tennis, that's for sure. While I'm quickly looking, I'm going to put this as I've never played that. I've never played that. And I've played the rest, that's fine. So yeah, like it's not for me. Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. I love it. I remember it's like first time I ever played this, it wasn't even on the Nintendo 64. It was on a big like machine in Disney Quest in Walt Disney World. It was like you got to play it for free. You just hit a button and it restarted the game. I just played it and played it and played it and played it non-stop. I absolutely love it. It's like just racing through all the classic courses from the Star Wars Episode 1 is incredible, and I absolutely love just picking Anakin Skywalker and just kicking everybody's ass. Star Wars Double Squadron. It was actually a good Star Wars game, to be honest. There's not many good like normal Star Wars games. This was a very good Star Wars game. I usually only like the racing games, but this is probably the best one I've played outside of Episode 1 Racer. So that's fair enough. But it's a bog standard game. But back then, like, it was hype. It was a big game. Super Mario 64. It's S tier. Without Super Mario 64, people say Super Mario 64 walked so Banjo could run. I think I see them as two separate games, even though they're obviously in the same style. But Super Mario 64 was the first game I ever played for the Nintendo 64. I still remember walking into my local game shop, and I didn't even have a Nintendo 64, and the guy was just at the front counter just sitting playing Mario 64 on his little tiny TV, and I knew Christmas was coming up, and I just said, like, I was still, believing in, what, I just said, like, loud enough, so like, I just hope Santa gets me that, and obviously, he did. So Super Mario 64 was there, like, getting 120 stars was, like, as a child, was the ultimate nightmare, but we did it. and then you find out it was all just to meet Yoshi on the roof to get a cup, get 99 lives, and you're just thinking, was it worth it? Was it? Right, even to this day I love watching the speed runs and all of it. People like the original 151 that I watch, he does the speed runs of Mario all the time, the 70-star speed runs, and I love watching them even still now. Just watching someone play the game that fast is insane. So even now it still holds a place in my heart. The Zelda games, I'm going to just be quick and put both of them at B. Like, my brother loves Zelda. I think Zelda would be his favourite game like Nintendo have ever done. Zelda just, it isn't for me. They're very, I can see why people love the games. It's like the closest thing to an open world game we ever got on the Nintendo 64, especially with the limitations. But obviously it's not open world. But it wasn't my type of game. Like, it's like those games where you go around slashing and all that. Like, it's like that, games like that and Final Fantasy for the PlayStation my brother loves. I'm just not into games like that. I know this obviously isn't an RPG, but I'm just like that type of game where you're like swinging a sword, just trying to do damage. There's obviously exceptions. I'm sure I'll go through them on my other console game tier list, but that just one wasn't for me. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1. Now, if this had been Pro Skater 3 or Underground, it'd be an S tier. It's a game you just throw on. They see yourself how many points can I get from grinding on the same rail over and over and over again and hitting the jump button. So we're just going to put it in B. And finally, Yoshi's Story. I love a good Yoshi Story game. Like, even for the Super Nintendo, my favourite Super Mario game is probably Yoshi's Island because I absolutely love Yoshi and I love the gameplay in these games. Yoshi's Story is another fantastic entry for me. Like, if you enjoy like the side-scrolling element of Super Mario Brothers games from the Super Nintendo, Yoshi's Story is a perfect game for you. Obviously, it adds the elements of Yoshi can fire the eggs, you can swallow enemies. It's just a fun, colourful game. So, like, who wouldn't love it? As I said, that's the list done, guys. I'm going to put this in order up here. It's actually going to be quite tough. Super Mario 64 deserves to be higher. Number 4 is probably fair. GoldenEye at 5. Yeah, I'm going to put... No, I enjoyed Stadium 2 more than 1. That's probably... No... Yeah, that's probably fair. Right, we've got Banjo-Kazooie, no, we'll go from the far end. Mario Kart 64. How many got? We got 10 exactly. It's perfect. Number 10 with Mario Kart 64. Number 9 we've got Pokemon Stadium 1. Like, it obviously was a very good game. Super Smash Bros. Sorry, the very first Super Smash Bros. game. I still remember that feeling of just like taking on Master Hand and just trying to not get slapped off the screen. Pokemon Stadium 2 took everything done in Pokemon Stadium 1, especially the mini games, and did it so much better, so much prettier graphics, and much better at battle animations. Pokemon Snap, as I said, it's a guilty pleasure. It's taking pictures of Pokemon, but it is my type of game. I absolutely love it. GoldenEye 007 at number 5. Like, without it, you wouldn't see the world today. There might not be a Battlefield, there might not be a Call of Duty, so thank the Lord for GoldenEye 007. Super Mario 64, the OG, like the first 3D platformer. Like, Super Mario brought everything, and he deserves to be the face of Nintendo simply for the likes of this game alone. Diddy Kong Racing at number 3. In my opinion, best racing game ever made. Like, in terms of the story, in terms of the animation, and every racing game now wishes they could do what Diddy Kong Racing did like 20 plus years ago. Number 2, Banjo-Kazooie. Very, very biased with 1 and 2. Banjo-Kazooie. This is the first game it doesn't. It's the first sequel it doesn't better its original. It's probably like a 9.999 out of 10, and then this is 10 out of 10. Banjo-Kazooie and Kazooie are just unbelievable. Anyone who doesn't love them, just, have you even got a soul? It's like, I really hope, I've seen they've just announced as well that they're doing Banjo-Kazooie game cover Funko Pops. Yeah, I'm getting them obviously, and it's very interesting that a Nintendo character is finally coming to Funko outside of Pokemon, obviously, because that's a separate company. But a proper Nintendo character is coming to Funko, and I'm hoping that is opening the door for the likes of Mario, Luigi, get them types of Funko Pops. But that's my list, guys. I have quite a lot I haven't played, but there's a lot here we'll have, and Nintendo 64 is probably my favourite console of all time. But that does it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you're still here, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, do all that stuff you guys do. If you want to comment down below what you guys put as your top 10, even maybe not everything, but just what your top 10 would be, even just your favourite. Let me know. Like if there's anything you really don't agree with. As I said, this is just my list, my opinions. But if there's something you really think I'm nuts on, sure, drop it. Let me know in the comments, and sure we'll have a discussion about it. But thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.